There she is. How you
Yeah.
doing?
Good.
How's
How are you doing?
good? Happy summertime.
I know. I don't know about where you are, but it is so hot here.
Now
So
you're in Savannah and you
hot.
have the humidity, right?
Yes, the
Okay.
humidity makes it a different kind of heat. That's for
Right.
sure.
All right. Can you breathe okay? Is it that humid where you can't breathe or
I've gotten used to it. I feel like
okay.
most people who move here the first time, they're like, I need to go somewhere else during the summer. But now I kind of like it. It's like a free sauna.
Oh, really? Okay. All right, cool. All right, so I'm in Los Angeles, and this is going to sound terrible. It's nice and cool. It's like 72 degrees, right? I know. It's so nice because I don't have to turn the AC on, but it will get hot. No, just not right now, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to be talking Summerween, and it's so
Woo.
fun. I was looking at the script today, and we have the tunnel scene, and I was thinking sweltering heat because you were in DC, Georgetown University. What were the summers like there?
Summers in DC are very similar to here. I mean, DC was built on a swamp. So it is incredibly humid. And because a lot of it is concrete, it's a city. All of that heat just wafts up from the sidewalks and hits you. So it is incredibly hot and incredibly steamy in DC during the summer.
All right, so kind of put a little of that into the tunnel scenes, and I can't wait for you to read it because I'm pretty excited. So if you have curly hair in DC or even where you're at, is it like all over the place or?
Yes, and I do have curly hair. So yeah, it's Frizz City over here and in DC. Yeah.
Well, your hair looks great, by the
Thank you.
way. All right, so Summerween, I had never heard of it until you mentioned it. I
Yeah.
really had no
It's a
idea.
pretty new thing actually.
Yeah, apparently it came from a Disney TV show.
Yeah. And
Oh,
like 14 years ago. That's not that long at
yeah.
all.
Oh my gosh. So, but now apparently it's a big thing where people actually celebrate Halloween in the summer. So,
Mhm.
it's kind of cool. But when I was like reading about it, it's just like, wow, they go all out. People literally have like Halloween parties by the pool and this whole thing. But I thought Much Too Vulgar takes place in the summertime.
Mhm.
So, kind of like perfect. Um, how did you first learn about Summerween?
It was just something that was floating around. I mean, I've heard about it how most people hear about things on the internet. I saw people, Summerween book recommendations, Summerween movie, recommendations. And so I looked into it too, just like you did. And I thought, this is awesome. We spooky people need a holiday that isn't just Halloween, you know?
Right. Okay. All right. So, how was it now going back to Much Too Vulgar? How was it you were inspired to write about a horror story in the summertime as opposed to
Mhm.
the wintertime?
Well, part of that is because, so in the book, there's this huge research program that is very real. I was in it. And what it was that during the school year, some people would work in labs, but during the summers, we all stayed, everybody worked in a lab, and it was very much as I described it in the book. Georgetown doesn't have Greek life, but this was kind of, a social club. It was a way you met people. We all bonded over being nerds, and it was awesome. And since all of that action happened during the summer, and Georgetown is a very different place during the summer than it is during the school year when it's covered with other students, I thought this is a really good time to write a book. This is a good time for somebody like Keely, our main character, to go do things relatively unnoticed because there are some people on campus, but it is mostly deserted.
Okay, so she can just slide on by, and then everything, and how she discovers the tunnels is probably one of my favorite parts. But we won't give anything away. Read the book, guys. Got to read the book. Okay, and I got to show it off. All right, Much Too
Yeah,
Vulgar. Yes, yes, yes. Totally showing it off. All right, so Keely doesn't strike me as one who would actually be into Halloween, though. Or would
no,
she?
no, that seems like, a distraction from the things that really matter to her, which is, working in a lab, getting into medical school, being the best. Halloween is just kind of, a distraction. And plus, she kind of feels like she's wearing a mask all of the time, you know?
Yeah, this is true. I would agree with that. All right, so, but I kind of really want to get into like this whole Summerween horror thing. Why do you think people love horror, and why do you think they'd be attracted to it in the summertime?
I think people love horror because it is a catharsis. I think for the same reason people like to ride roller coasters, you get that adrenaline rush as you're coming up and then you go down and it's just so exciting. But you also know that you will get off the ride. So it's a safe way to feel scared, to explore uncomfortable feelings. And the horror community in general, we love a theme for talking about horror books. There are Christmas horror books, there are Halloween horror books, there are 4th of July horror books, I think. There are all different kinds of horror books, and so having a summer horror book, it just makes sense. I mean, there's Christmas in July, why not Summerween?
Right. Okay. Well, you have a new book coming out that happens to take place in the summertime. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. So my next book is called Ripped Up the Middle in Two, and it's about a postpartum mom who thinks that there's an evil creature living in the woods who wants her baby. And this takes place in August and September here in Savannah, where it is very steamy, and she's always going on these walks outside with the baby and trying not to melt. And that is just such a weird time to be outside because you don't want to be cooped up inside all day. It looks beautiful, and then you go outside and it's oppressive. The heat almost becomes a character. And it is kind of like that in Much Too Vulgar as well, because I feel like when people are cold, we're more rational, you know what I mean? But when we are really hot, everything like that's what rage is associated with. Anger is associated with that, and I think there's a reason for that.
Oh, I totally agree, especially when yeah, you just feel that icky and nothing seems to work at all,
Yeah.
so it's like, oh, okay, all right. Could you see Much Too Vulgar being set in the wintertime though, or is it just have that summertime vibe because
It's got
of,
a summertime vibe to me, mostly just because, like I said before, the campus being more deserted, people can do things without being seen. You know, if you're there during the school year, there are students everywhere all the time. You couldn't go into the tunnels. You couldn't hide. That would never happen.
that's kind of cool though. All right, so what do you find scariest about Summerween, or is there something that you find scary about it?
When I think of Summerween, it just sounds like fun to me. It sounds like, I think we talked about this earlier, carving watermelons instead of pumpkins, having pool parties with, Halloween themes. That just seems like a fun way to think about horror because there are so many types of horror. And you and I have talked about this before. I mean, you can have fun horror, you can have slasher horror, and you can have horror that makes you want to stare at a wall when you're done with it. And I
Right.
think Summerween really celebrates the diversity in horror and the breadth of horror because it's a fun holiday, but you can't forget that horror is horror.
This is true. This is true. Now, a Summerween party actually sounds like it could be fun. Now, I could see Erica from Much Too Vulgar
Yeah.
having a Summerween party.
Yeah.
Just that I could totally see her doing that with her friends.
The Hughes
Yeah.
kids would totally throw a Summerween party. When I was a Hughes kid, we threw parties for all different kinds of reasons. 4th of July, watching a movie. I mean, we went and explored the tunnels. That's how I found out about them. So, you don't need a big excuse to party.
Well, that's true, especially if you're in college. Exactly. Being there is an excuse for a party,
Yeah.
right? Just, all right. I like that. That's very cool. All right. So this whole thing about carving watermelons, though, that there's a certain creepiness to that. It's kind of cool. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's definitely something there for its own horror movie, just with that title. It's like, do you know that name's actually trademarked, though? I did not know
Carving
that.
watermelons or
No,
Summerween?
no, Summerween. Yeah,
I did not know
Summerween.
that.
Yeah, it's for a furniture line products because I happened to come across. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Why would you call furniture Summerween? But
Huh.
who knows, right?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. All right, so ripped up the middle in two takes
Yeah.
place in the summertime. All right, and what kind of horror genre would you say that one is?
I would say I've been calling it a motherhood creature feature because we've got very real psychological horror involved with this postpartum mom going through everything that you go through when you have a newborn. And then you have this supernatural horror in the form of this evil woodland creature. And I love combining the two because you can't really know if this narrator is totally reliable, and you can't really know if this supernatural creature is actually real. And I think that discomfort is one of the most exciting things about horror.
I would have to agree with that. Yeah, if you find yourself getting comfortable, it's not really horror,
True.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when does your book come out?
July 29th.
Okay. All right. And you had a pre-order for a while, but you're not having that anymore, right?
That ended June 30th, but as soon as the book publishes, July 29th, people can always order copies of any of my books directly from me, and they can be signed and personalized, and I have all kinds of fun little merch that I include.
Okay. And you are also working on your sixth book,
Yes.
right? Okay. How's
Yeah.
that going?
It's good. So what I usually do after I finish writing a draft, and I finished that draft maybe 2 weeks ago, is I put it aside and kind of let it marinate for a while to the point
Mhm.
where I'm far enough removed that when I go back and read it, I can easily spot things I want to change. Because you know, you're a writer, you know that when you're too close to it, you don't see any issues.
Yeah.
So I'm in the place where I'm letting it marinate for a little bit, and then next week or the week after, I'm going to start going through it myself. And then after that, it goes to my mom, who beta reads it. Then it
Yeah.
usually comes back to me with comments, and then we do that a couple times until it's ready for my professional editor. So I'm hoping that that book will be out in March of next year.
Oh, you are cranking, woman. That's so exciting. Well, okay, will that one be a summer themed book or what season that
That
one's
one
in?
takes place in like March and April.
Oh, okay. So springtime, kind of.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. All right. End of winter, springtime. Okay, that sounds kind of, I can't wait to read it. Your books are so amazing.
Thank you.
You just crank them out. That's so exciting. All right. So, back to Much Too Vulgar, and Summerween. All right. If you can change one thing now that's been out there, right, and you've had, written other books and gotten reactions, what would you change if you could?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. I think, and maybe this comes from working on the script with you, is having a maybe a bigger role for Erica's boyfriend Tom, because he is so despicable, and he doesn't have a big part in the book right now because we're all in Keely's head, and I think that's fine. But I think it would be interesting to explore that a little bit more, the way you've written it in the script. I think that's a really fun character.
Well, okay, when we do the TV series, I'm putting it out there, we'll have more for Tom,
Awesome.
and I have to admit, because that tunnel scene, I've really been working on this tunnel scene because, just really, because I think when I first wrote it, I was totally dismissing the heat. And the summer heat is like a character itself. So I'm not bombarding it with heat, but I'm really including it, and I'm adding more to Tom, which is just kind of came organically because of it. So,
Awesome.
and then it was, as we see Erica later on. I mean, I am so freaking excited with these characters. Oh my God. And and like I said, any actor with any of these characters would have so much fun. Not just Keely, but all of them. Even like Kat and Zane. The not as big roles. But I
Mhm.
mean, you have written such a rich book. There's so many layers, and it's so cool. And like you said, when you let it marinate and you go back and you start seeing things differently, I'm like, oh my God, that's it. And you start changing this and you start changing. I'm like so excited. I am just so excited. So, guys, you have to read the book. So then when you see the movie, you say, oh, that's not in the book, but I get it. But you have the basis here for a series that could go on for a long time, which is really
Yeah.
exciting.
And speaking of series, I've told you this, but I do plan after this sixth book that I'm working on is kind of done, I will start writing the sequel to Much Too Vulgar. And I'm really excited for that. I have an idea. I have like the germ of some ideas. I don't really know where it's going to go, but that's my favorite way to write because Keely is such a rich character that she'll tell me. She'll tell me what she wants to do.
Oh, yes, she will. Yes, she will. And I love how she's like so complicated. She's not insane. She
Mhm.
just sees things her own way, which
Yeah.
is so cool. And it's funny. We say that she's disturbed, but she would never admit to that. She would never like she's the normal one. Everyone else has problems, but
Yeah.
she's just so in it. And I think this is kind of like really cool.
I
Anyway,
think
so
I've had other people to describe her as a psychopath or a sociopath, and I wouldn't even describe her that way.
yeah.
I think she's more complicated than that. She resists having some sort of label, and I mean, part of it is to do with nature. A lot of it is nurture, but you never really know. And I think that's more realistic. That's how people really are. You can't just slap a label on somebody, and they conform to it exactly. And that's definitely not Keely. That's for sure.
Yeah, she's definitely her own person. And I
Mhm.
really cannot wait to see what she's like when she's out of college. It's like, and you will have her go to medical school, right? She will, or will you?
I
Or,
am not going to tell anybody.
oh man. Okay. All right. Well, she is, and I'd be curious to see how she handles her mother when she sees her mother again. That would be really
Yeah.
cool. You know,
I don't want to give too much away, but I will say it would really help if people have read A Veritable Household Pet. before the sequel. I'm not going to say the title. The sequel for Much Too Vulgar, when it comes out, it will help if you've read A Veritable Household Pet, because that one exists in the same universe as Much Too Vulgar. Very different type of book, but you will recognize some things.
Yeah, that's a really good, but totally different, totally unexpected, which is really cool too. I mean, you are such a talent, and I'm so glad we had a chance to meet because I love your books. I mean, and from the Rotting Room to A Cold Night for Alligators to A Veritable Household Pet to Much Too Vulgar, and that's not in the right order, but you just get in this zone and you create these incredible books.
Thank
I'm
you.
like so exciting. I feel inspired, because I see it and I'm like, okay, how can we make this happen? So I'm so glad we're doing this. I mean, I'm so grateful. Okay. All right. So because of Summerween, um, like I said, it was new for me. I actually pulled out a
Oh my
mask
gosh.
and it's so funny.
That's awesome.
An artist made this, but it scares me, so it's kind of creepy, right?
It kind of gives me like the Shining vibes.
Right. But
Yeah.
I
Or
really,
I don't know if you've seen Hokum. It gives me a little bit of like Hokum vibes, or Donnie Darko.
yes, definitely Johnny Darko, but I thought it was cool because they have like little hearts and stuff in there.
I mean, it's a
But
cool,
it's
definitely cool looking, but any mask is a little bit creepy.
right. But something about this just really. So I found it when I just knew I was going to go on with you. I'm like, okay, I have to pull this up for Summerween. So I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah. No, that's a very good Summerween choice. That's for sure.
Right. But of course, too hot for Savannah. I mean, because you'd melt too
Yeah,
much.
absolutely.
Right. But no, so people in Savannah celebrate Summerween that you know of?
I don't know. I think for everybody that I've seen is doing it more like we're reading Summerween books,
Oh,
but I'd love to have a Summerween party at some point. I think that would be so much fun. Like celebrate books, celebrate movies, celebrate all things spooky, because Savannah is the most haunted city in the US. And I feel like we don't lean into that quite enough. Yes, there are ghost tours, yes, there are history tours, but
hmm.
we need more. We can
All
always
right.
have
So I totally agree with that. And I'm thinking for Much Too Vulgar, the movie, yes,
yes.
we should definitely have a Summerween fundraiser party there.
Oh, that would be so
And
much fun.
wouldn't that be fun? Have people dress up in costumes,
Yeah.
dress up as Hoyas even. Hoya, meaning the Georgetown mascot, right?
Well,
The
you've
Hoya.
heard the joke, right? Ask
No.
say what ask me what is a Hoya?
What is the Hoya?
Yes. Hoya means what? It means what?
Oh,
The motto is Hoya Saxa, which means what rocks. So it doesn't make any sense, and our like physical mascot is a bulldog, but we are the Hoyas.
the Hoyas.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
like that. That's very cool. All right. So we have to put that on the calendar somehow, some way. We need to make that happen. Just
Yeah,
so people can really get the full experience of what Summerween is,
yeah,
and they can see all your books because by then you'll probably be working on your eighth book by then.
yeah. That's about
Probably.
probably.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. You're averaging about 2 a year,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's
We'll see if I can keep up that pace.
awesome. Well, how do you do it? Because you have such a full schedule. You just make it happen, or
I set weekly writing goals. So like when
okay.
I am writing a book, I don't really take off. I'll have, okay, I need to write 5,000 words this week. And I have been
Mhm.
able to stick with that. It is hard, and I have to write at weird times sometimes to make it happen. But it is so much easier to go back and, fix something that's already written than to write something from scratch. So if I can stay
Yeah.
in that world for as long as I need to stay into it to get the book done, that helps. So they're kind of like writing sprints. I used to do NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, which encourages you to write 50,000 words in 1 month. And you only do that by writing every day, and that was very effective for me for finishing books. So I do that on a weekly basis because the daily one is a little bit much, but it's been really helpful.
That's so very cool. And you just get it done. You are so inspiring. You really are. I mean, you set your mind to something and you do it. I mean, and so many people talk about stuff, but they never follow through. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." And you do it. And I think
It's
that's
not
awesome.
easy. I mean, it took a lot of practice. I started with short stories. I have several novels that will never see the light of day because, I write differently. I've learned a lot. And now I've got a process that works for me, but it took a lot of trial and error to find it.
And you just keep going. And and you're always constantly building. So the more you do, the more you learn and expand and
Yeah,
evolve. Exactly. Yeah.
exactly.
I think that's awesome. All right. So I know we cut our little lives to 20 minutes.
Mhm.
So Summerween, we will definitely have a Summerween party next year, one way or another. So we will talk about that and have people really be part of it. And who knows, maybe we'll create some sort of horror game where people
Ooh,
can partake. Wouldn't that be fun?
that would be fun.
So turn it into a little event. And your book comes out ripped up the middle too. I love that title.
Thank you.
July
29th.
29th. Okay. So people be on the lookout for that. And I cannot wait to hold it in my hands. And I have a feeling we might have another movie there.
I think that would be a good one. I'm just saying.
So,
I think of all my books, that is one that would translate very well to film.
no, I have to say all your books will.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
So anyway, we'll get one in the can and see how
Mhm.
that goes. And I think people will be really excited because I know I am. But
Me
anyway, so people, thank you so much for joining us. If you didn't get a chance to send out a message, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read anyway. But send a message to either me or Viggy at Viggy Parhampton, and we will get back to you. And be sure to check out her book coming out in July. And Much Too Vulgar is also on her website, viggyhampton.com. And we will do this again in 2 weeks. And if you guys have a topic that you would like us to talk about, let us know. And we have we have your new book coming out, so maybe
Yeah.
we'll talk about your new book.
Yeah, that's
You want
always a
to do
good one. We also had a lot of people respond to what are your favorite horror tropes. So that could also be a
that?
good thing to talk about.
All right. Thank you so much, Vicky. I appreciate you. And we will talk very soon. Cool.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Happy Summerween, everybody.
Summerween. All right. Okay. Kooky math, right? Ooh,
Yes.
it is freaky. It's freaky. But the artist who made it, she was like really cool. So anyway, all right. I'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys, for joining.